Awesome. Okay. So Petty had asked, it was stated a few times in the book that there were people with generator powering their home. If you were in John's situation with his daughter, would you have asked or entrusted one of those people to refrigerate her insulin? And I believe we're under 10, so we can go in alphabetical order if you guys would like. I mean, like we used to. I can move the boxes around and we can do that. But if anybody has any insight that they want to, Aaron, we can start with you, of course. Would you have asked?
I don't know because I mean that's really tricky because I'd want to do like whatever's best for my kid, but then I'd also be really nervous because that's her lifeline. What if I give it to someone who I think I would trust and they're in the same position as me that they're going to do whatever they can for their family, so they might try to leverage it somehow and, score something, food, supplies, anything. So I don't know if I would or not. I'm honestly don't know.
I questioned it too. How about you, Emily?
Nope. I'm a control freak. Um, for that very reason, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I have a great relationship with my neighbors. We all have kids and land, and we'd probably pretty much band together for the most part. But I don't know if I'd be comfortable putting that much power over my child's life in the hands of another person. I think I would have a hard time with that. I think it kind of depends, but for the most part, my initial answer, my instinct is no, because they can leverage it.
They can, especially if, like, maybe in the beginning I would have considered it, but as things go on, it's getting really icky.
See,
Melissa,
I'm the opposite. I would go the last half. I would be more likely to,
when you
because
got more desperate.
by then, everybody who is probably going to die has already died, and then you've got your survivalists that have banded together, those who have like withstood it for the length of time, and then banded together, and you're pooling your resources and you're cooperating. At that point, I would probably be more likely to say, let's put all of the refrigerator medications into one place and run power there.
Yeah,
But that's me.
I would have never ever. I would have been blindsided by the violence. I don't think I would have been prepared for the way how awful it's gotten. So I think I would have been from the start. How about you, Melissa? Would you have asked?
No, I agree. I probably wouldn't have asked because it could be used later for them to trade for food or things that they need when someone else's who maybe has a child who has diabetes as well needed the insulin and they might have food or, as they mentioned later, animals that they're using for food that they could trade for the insulin. So I don't think I would be willing to trust anyone else with my child's insulin.
Yeah, it would be very hard. Michael, how about you?
I'm kind of like with everybody else. I'm kind of a control person that I would want to make sure that it stayed refrigerated and, not to be able to be used for leverage later on.
Yeah. Udi?
I'd like to put my faith in people, to see if I could, if they're really your neighbors. I think, and then plus John is a military man. He could offer trade for that. I could be protection or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and in order for you to store my daughter's medicine, they could work something out. I would think.
Yeah, he hunts, right? So he could barter
Yeah,
animals that he hunts for that kind of thing. There are things that he does have leverage with. You're right. Um, yeah, have that's a good idea. How about you, Patty?
It's gonna be long-winded. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you guys, I was listening to this on the way home from work, and I thought about it, and the more I thought about it, the more fucking pissed I got. And then I like came inside. My husband was pulling up, and I fucking slammed the car door. I'm like, there's a huge fucking plot hole. I said, there's a fucking fridge. And he's like, why would you give that to them? And of course, yeah, my thought, I go back and forth because obviously, I wouldn't want to, have this beautiful sacred thing as my daughter's lifeline in someone else's hands. But it's not like in my mind and the way that Michaela was describing it, they're losing it right now. And if there is a chance that it could prolong my child's life, and of course, I'm not just gonna be like, hey, can you please hold this for me? And I'm not gonna give anything in return. I feel like John has just as much to leverage as anyone who has a fridge. And I can't imagine that insulin, it's not that much room in the fridge. So that's a good point. Plus, most people don't know he has it. But, there's other things. I am positive that I wouldn't even do all of it. I wouldn't. I would, try to at least get one. But my husband and I came at like a stalemate. He's like, no, you can't do that. Like, what if they sold it? What if they stole it? And those are all realistic things that could happen. But right now it's rotting in the basement. So I think I would try at least one. I don't know if it's threat of violence that I give them, like, hey, do this or I'm going to shoot your grandma, something. But I can't just say, because I'm a control freak too, believe me. But I realize when things are out of my control, and I will do things to try to help still persuade them. Billy, you're muted, babe. I can't hear you, Billy.
Sorry, I was saying good evening to Tiff. It's good to see you. Thank you for coming.
Hey, y'all.
And I agree, Patty. If I would have known that these were going to, expire faster and it was going to rush her treatment, we were going to have to use more of it, I would have been begging people and bartering anything that I had. Like, they could come and stay with me, use my shower, use my food supply, whatever you need to do for my child. Like, I would just do anything. There's a sense of desperation for her survival that I feel from him. I just don't think that he can mentally accept losing her. So especially with the wife, it's just, I feel like he's so desperate. He's like this close to doing something criminal to extend her life. And now the daughter's like freaking out about dying. That just impacts it even. There's a desperation. How about you, Stephanie?
So I think the same that everybody else is, and people do get very, very ugly during crises. And I agree with Patty. I would probably give give them one vial just to kind of test them, or extract the medication and act like it's insulin, just so I could see if they were trustworthy or not. That's just my thinking. I don't know. I would try to do that. I mean, because you have to be creative. You have to come up with different things when you're going through something like that. And you have to see if people can be trusted. Because if they can, then maybe you can help them out too. So, yeah, it's leverage, but it's also you have to adapt to everything going on.
I'm gonna leave it unmuted. I'm sorry. That's genius and a little diabolical. But like, I would have never even considered to do anything like that. But that's really smart. It's really, really smart. You're testing them to see if you can trust them. And there could have been other ways he could test them too. That's very, yeah. I would have been like, save my baby, please. Put these in your refrigerator. Never. Tiff, how about, did you hear the question? The question was from Patricia, and it is, would you have asked your neighbors that had generators to hold the insulin for Jennifer's medication to prolong, its use? Would you have trusted them?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it would have been like, yeah, 100% I trust them, but like you guys are kind of saying, when you're in a situation where I don't have a choice, so I kind of have to trust them, or, I mean, at that point, if I give it to them and they do something with it or whatever, then I was going to lose it anyways. You know what I mean? So at that point, it would be worth it in my mind, to do something like that. It's so I go back and forth like with this book, like, because on one hand everybody's like, oh, we got to survive, like I got to make sure for me and mine that we're good, but then on the other hand it's like, we're not going to survive if we don't work together. So it's like these two things that are just complete opposite that are kind of like pushing against each other. But yeah, I just feel like at this point, if it's going to go bad anyways, I don't really have a choice. So worst case scenario, if I give it to them and they do something with it, it would have gone bad.
Yeah,
So
that's smart too. That's smart too. Emily had suggested that she would have probably been more likely to do it toward the end, where you knew that it was decrepitating as you know we went on and further. How about you, Victoria? Did you give it any thought? Did you think like I need to start reaching out to my neighbors to see if they could help me with it?
So, okay, so there's my idealistic, I think I'd do this brain, and then there's my realistic, my neighbors literally just broke into my like car the other day, brain. So to ask people like to, I guess like, I don't know. I'm very much like I'll run down to the creek and become the boxcar children and just put it in the water. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but at the same time, I think the diabolical quote unquote idea of like maybe a vial, you know what I mean? Like a vial here, a vial there, refrigerated to see if I could trust people would be cool too. But there's also the underlying bit that I'm a Scorpio stellium under all of this. So like trusting is like an Olympic sport to me. It's not something I probably could do without a lot of training. And yeah, so I'm very torn on this because I'm like, idealistically, yeah, I'd love to try to have like a mutual aid with my neighbors to like take care of each other and have a community where people are looking out for each other. But I live in the kind of neighborhood where if something's unlocked, people are going to rifle through it because why not? So yeah,
Okay.
I'm a little bit torn.
I guess part of it is, do you trust the people that you are surrounded with, like your community? Yeah, trust is when the emergency first happens. For me, I'm a real big person on communal support and mutual support, and like that's like the only. I support a place called Here to Serve, and they basically support everyone in their little community. I think I would have reached out right from the very beginning to have like a little, hippie commune type of thing, like what each one of us can do to benefit our surroundings. I wouldn't have waited to the mid game for me. But I don't know. I feel panic for his daughter every time I read about it. It causes me to get upset. So it's something that really hits me in the feels. I don't know why, but I feel like if he lost her, a part of him would die too. Like I don't think he could survive without her. The next question was from Melissa, and it was said last week we talked about how prepared we thought we were in regards to survival items such as food, medicine, water. These chapters have me really thinking about how prepared in regards to others, such as persons who were in prison for violent crimes or mentally ill. Oh, that is another thing. Yeah, or long-term psychiatric hospital. The Alzheimer's people were the first ones that really, really, really hurt me. But what happens to the people that are in prison when the things that hold them in bars go off? Like, what do we do that? So if there's I didn't even think about that. Like, this is not, I'm just trying to get through the damn day. How am I going to eat today? How am I going to shower today? Everything. Electronic locks in jails, you guys. Yeah. And then like, what do you do with them? What is an ethical, moral thing to do? And then people in psychiatric hospitals and oh my goodness. Erin, do you have any thoughts?
I honestly have no idea. I try to think about it and think about it. And I know like, and I'm not saying that this is what I would do. I'm just trying to think like, what did they do before they had medications for these people and before like, mental illness was understood? I know that they would just put them all in a place and basically, torture them, do what they think was best. And I'm not saying that, I mean, what could they do? Besides just like the elderly, the dementia patients, they had to be tied down to their beds and basically left to just wither away and pass away. And I'm not saying you'd have to do that with everybody, but there are a lot of people, like they said in the book, that they're going to be like uncontrollable. They're going to be hallucinating and they're going to be doing violent things and they're going to be hurting themselves and other people. What else could you do with them besides lock them up? They're not going to have the medication that they need. And they, I mean, they don't even have enough food for them
Yeah.
right now. So I don't know. I'm so sick to my stomach even thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
It feels cruel and unusual for me to think about those people having to try to survive without the like Emily had just put the antipsychotics. So like the only thing they have to hold on to, and then you have these criminals. I don't know. When Michaela, I think that's her name, told John that they had the Alzheimer's patients bound, so that they didn't leave. I thought, why don't you just take whatever medications you have, combine it together, and put these people to sleep? Like euthanize, like right to die. Like you're torturing them. That would be my equivalent to hell. And then if I lose touch with reality, then I don't have my antipsychotic. I don't know. You start thinking about quality of life versus what is ethically okay. Yeah, it does make me sick. Emily, did you have some thoughts?
That is kind of my thing. I have experience with, I have family and friends that have been in prison. And so that's why I was responding to Victoria. Like, I have experience going through the Sally Port and all that stuff. And a lot of the prisons have fully modernized and they do use electronic locks. So my fear would be, what's the backup for that? Like, what do you do if there's a power outage? I'm sure they have plans in place, and that's why it takes them so long to be able to fully modernize some of the prisons. But a lot of those prisoners are on antipsychotic medications because even though they are deemed mentally able to stand trial for their crimes and the culpability is there still, they know that, the right from wrong and all of that, they're still on those medications to kind of keep some of those reactions at bay. And that is literally, at least in Ohio specifically, that is often the only thing that they can offer to them. If the courts do not deem them able to go to a medical facility that is for criminals with mental health issues, they are in the general population and given a medication. So what happens when they run out of medications? What happens when the criminals that are in prison overthrow the COs? Because we know that population is greater than the number of COs on at a given time, the corrections officers. You usually have one medical or two medical on at a time, and that's kind of it. So if that's the case, they're able to get overthrown, they're able to get overpowered if they're not able to be locked into their cells, or if they're in general areas and in dorms, which a lot of them are, because they're not in solitary, they're not in maximum security. We have a lot throughout the United States. We have a lot that are minimum and medium security, and those are often setups where you have multiple beds in an area, and it's a big common area. They can reach right over the wall and take somebody's stuff off their bed if they leave their shoes on their bed. Like, so that would be my fears. They're going to organize.
Right.
And if we don't have electronic locks that are keeping them in, if we don't have physical locks and we have electronic locks, then they're able to get out. Then what happens when they get out and they're already organized? They go out into the community.
Right.
And they continue doing what they have done or felt that they have had to do in order to survive, which puts us all at risk.
It's outrageous. Victoria, you were giving a lot of chat information that I'd like you to share. Did you work? You said at my prison. Did you work at the prison, volunteer? Like, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was a correction officer for the state of Ohio at Belmont Correctional Institution, which was a medium security facility that had a minimum security camp attached to it. So yeah, I know a lot about like locking doors and stuff like that. We did have mainly manual locks there, but the jails and prisons that I've looked at every prison in the state. All of the ones that have like electronic locks, they have manual overrides, but the keys to get them, it's like one person has those keys. And it's, if you know where they're at, then good luck to you. And
Right.
it's kind of nuts. So yeah, I used to be a prison guard.
Wow. Yeah, I just said that like a lot of the guards may just leave. And I think a lot of nurses and things did too, like we saw, like, and that wasn't even nearly as barbaric. I think I'm wondering. I think this town is so small. There's not a prison there. There's a jail, and I think this town is so antiquated that they may have like the original like Barney Fife, because they even refer to it like a Mayberry cop that they have. So there might be like a holding cell. It's not like this big electronic prison. However, the people that are coming down the route, that are being ushered through, those could be escaped prisoners. Like holy moly. Melissa, did you want to chime in here on your, what brought you to think about it?
Sure. So specifically the mental health, like I said previously, I work in mental health crisis. So I do see a lot of unmedicated or needing adjustments in medications, schizophrenics, bipolars with, psychosis, people who have delusions, hallucinations, and just how severe that can get without their psychiatric medications. And just being able to give them support through it is very difficult. But specifically the jails, I was thinking more like, Mansfield Prison, those being able to go out into the community. So it just really made me think about what potentially could happen without the medications or the blocks in jail holding our prisoners in, right? Especially those with the violent crimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Michael, do you have any thoughts? It amazes me when I think about it from the standpoint that they are not like full on insanity from the people coming through. They've only killed 200 people so far from that. And I'm surprised they haven't been like completely overrun by that sort of thing yet. Do you have any thoughts?
I guess I really didn't think about so much jails and that kind of stuff. I think what caught me off guard was them turning the university into like a training camp. I think that shocked me more than anything. But I did kind of think about the jails a little bit. But I think it just kind of broke my heart with the nursing home, and because I had a grandmother in a nursing home and with dementia and everything, and it just that part just really really killed me. But I didn't really think too much. Now I'm thinking about the jails. It's like, oh my gosh, how did I not think about that? But yeah, so that's all I have.
Me too. I'm right where you are. I cried all through chapter 4. So I think we're putting out multiple fires and nobody knows where to put the water first. Is what it feels like. How about you, Udi? Do you have any insight or different take?
Well, my parents actually lived down the street from a mental health facility that used to be a prison of some sorts. So that kind of sucks because that's where I was going to go if anything ever happened. But I mean, I guess we do have the weaponry to protect ourselves, but who knows where they would go, which way, exactly.
Right. So these birds of a feather flock together, right? Like we know that's how we all work. These people are going to team up. They've already suggested there's a posse. Is that what we're calling it? Is that what they're calling it? I don't know if I have the verbiage right. That there's like a sinister gang on the way that they've gotten information from. Cult. It's a cult. It's a cult that's coming. I have a feeling that it's probably like the big bads. Like they're all on their way towards them. Yeah, your refuge is down the street from Big Bad. So like
Yeah.
Yeah,
What am I gonna do?
I want to change everyone asked like in the beginning, like, would you just try to stick it out? I'm thinking I'm gonna change my answer. Like, I don't know, what are we, day 65? Is that what the last date was that he said? Yeah, oh God, exits and entrances. Patty, how about you? Did you consider prisons at all?
No, I didn't. Honestly, I didn't think about it. And then for a minute, I was worried if I had read too far because I hadn't heard anyone mention the posse. Because I think that the cult and the posse are two separate groups here. There's the religious fanatics coming from Tennessee, and then there's the cult or the posse. So I think, and within that cult, I see a lot of like mental illness and stuff. I really did not consider what would happen to the prisoners, and I guess it's just not something I think about in my daily life. Do you know what I mean? So I just I didn't even think about it. I mean, I will say, like, sorry guys, it's vitamin time. Yeah, no, in regards to prisoners, I literally just didn't think about it at all. Yeah. I do have something else to add. Wait, but I'll add at the end. I'll talk about it later because it might not have anything to do with this. So I'm just going to mute myself.
No, you're more than welcome to.
Well, it just freaked me out. Okay, the thing that did freak me out was that Doc Keller was talking about how he should be able to declare someone insane. And it just kind of feels like Doc is like doing some like weird shit. Like it feels like I get where he's coming from, but I feel like there's like an underlying power move that I'm genuinely concerned about. Is he going to say that about John? Is he going to say that about Charlie? Is he going to use that to like create his own type of thing? So like that's where like my mind has been going this whole time. It's not really about like the prisoners. It's about who is crazy. So that's where my head is like, I think they're going to have their own type of posse in the town. Like why is it just him? I feel like if we were in a group right now and this happened, I feel like at least 3 different individuals would have to agree upon it. When you get an autism diagnosis, you have to have 5 separate doctors agree that you have autism. Otherwise, if one of them disagrees, it's off. Yeah. So why is it like this? So that was my thought, and that's where I was thinking about.
Yeah, I like that train of thought. I'm totally on board. Stephanie, how about you?
So I would be very concerned where I'm living now if something like this happened because where I'm at, there's a maximum security prison. There's actually, aren't there 2 of them?
Not maximum security prisons.
2 prisons right by each other, just right across the road. And I mean, like Victoria was saying, they could overpower somebody, and I think Emily was saying that too, and that's really concerning. And after reading the stuff about the Alzheimer's patients, since I work in a pain clinic, it got me thinking. I'm like, man, what happens to everybody that's in chronic pain? Because I'm living with it too. But I'm just like, and then the mental health thing started in. I'm like, they have no idea what to do at all. Like Billy was saying, you don't know which fire to put out first. And I wasn't thinking about the prisoners, but now I am, and I feel like either the cult or the posse, they're made up with the prisoners that are some big baddies, and that's just concerning because they would all group together, like you guys were saying. It's just, I don't think it's going to be a good situation. And then, like what Patty was saying with Doc Keller declaring people insane, I mean, that's bothersome. That bothered me too. I think it is a power move, and he's going to do some shady shit.
I agree. Tiff, how about you? Have you any thoughts on what? I know you said you thought that the guards would go rogue. Like you probably feel like they would probably leave for their own survival.
Yeah.
Well, and them?
From what I'm reading, like I'm kind of Googling stuff while we're talking about this. And from what I'm reading, when electronics fail in prisons, they fail with doors closed, not open. So what would be more likely to happen is they would be stuck in their cells and probably die. So, yeah, that's what I'm seeing everywhere. I'm also looking at like the US government. They talked about this a little bit in the book. They harden things to protect them against an EMP.
Yeah.
And like federal prisons are one of those things. So
well, why not everything? is this a cost issue? I wonder. I'm real curious.
That's a good question. I'm like, why not everything? I don't know if it's a cost issue. Like, I see a lot of articles that are like, yeah, some things are protected against EMPs, but the United States is woefully like not prepared for if we would have an EMP. And I'm like, why aren't we doing more to protect against that? It's like, is it just people aren't taking that seriously? Like, it could be a threat, but
Right.
I mean, so for prisoners, I think it would just be honestly um, like I was saying in the chat, like I feel like the guards would probably, because at that point, you know, everybody's like, okay, I got to go protect my family. I got to protect myself, figure out what's going on. Like it would take a really different kind of person. You know, I think about nursing homes. I work with people with developmental disabilities who require people to care for them around the clock. So I think about my staff and I'm like, my staff aren't going to stick around and help these guys. Like I want to believe that they would try to do what they could, but at the same time I wouldn't be mad at them. Like they got to survive in the situation. So I think that like a lot of these different populations, they're probably the first on the list to die, unfortunately.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for Googling it. Udi, I see your hand is up.
I have kind of a reverse question then. So if the door's shut, as a question of morality, would you want to help them? Or like, since you know that the doors are shut, you have a supply of food. Would you be willing to go in there and, take a risk to go and get more food or even medication for your family? That's what I was gonna do,
Mm-hmm.
because that's a good point.
Are you talking about like eating the prisoners? Because that's real weird.
No, the food. Because they have a cafeteria and they have a pantry and stuff like that. You
Right.
know that they're all locked in there. Would you take a risk of going in there to get that food that is
They will.
available because they can't get?
I think they would, because they started talking about, I don't know about initially, but they had already started talking about hierarchy of people who needed more nutrition. So people who are running the military, the doctors, the nurses, the people who are caretakers, the prisoners sitting in a cell would get basic, you know what I mean? They will eventually would use that food to supplement those other people, I would assume. That's horrible. Yeah. Okay, they aren't joking. It's like animal. Yes, 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 yes. Victoria, I know you said that. I read in the chat that there is one that's completely underground. Is that reserved for people? I mean, not without sounding silly, but like somebody like Hannibal Lecter, like the really, really, like Con Air kind of prisoners, or is it just
Yeah,
general
it's the
pop?
federal supermax. It's called ADF Florence in Colorado. And yeah, you're, you know, pretty awful federal criminals, I guess, would be sequestered there for the most part.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So we know the doors are going to lock, hopefully. That gives me a little bit of peace of mind. However, morally speaking, ethically speaking, I'm now concerned about the prisoners and they're starving to death. Just how about what we got some more info?
Not more info, but like what I always think about with people that are imprisoned is like there's not an exact statistic or number, but they estimate that maybe like 2% of people that are imprisoned and they didn't do anything wrong. And 2% doesn't sound like a lot, but then when you take like our whole country, that's something like 300,000 people that are in prison that didn't do anything wrong. So I always think about like it's so hard to be like, yeah, they're criminals, so they don't deserve to live. Like, do they not deserve to be given the same opportunity to survive as the rest of us?
Exactly.
I guess I'm just torn on that. I don't know that I have an answer one way or the other, just things that I think about.
My mind went there instantly, because I know of people who've been wrongly incarcerated. Also, you have an endemic of people who have been incarcerated for marijuana selling, and it's now legal. All those people should be released, and there's just so many layers here. Patty, I see your hand up.
it was literally about the non-violent drug crimes, like the people who got caught smoking weed 20 fucking years ago. Like there my thing is how could you even vet that? How could you, like, because I again, non-violent drug crimes, marijuana, just whatever. There's places that even have ketamine legalized. Okay. So like there needs to be some type of thing, but how would you even vet that? How could you even guarantee if you were to like say let out certain people? How do we know? So it's like one of those things where it's like not all bad men or not all men are bad, but how do you pick which one is or isn't? Um, it just kind of sucks. I don't know if there's even a good answer for it.
I don't know if we can look at this as like good or bad or like right or wrong. We kind of have to look at it as like a basis of survival where I think things change. I think the normal dynamic of what is typically right shifts to who's going to be able to survive this and how do we make it so that they do. So like I said, there were so many of the Alzheimer people that I think should have just been, and I hate to say it because it seems so wrong, but like just put out of their pain. And then as far as like these psychiatric pain people go, like if I went into psychosis and I wasn't in reality and that was not going to be able to come back for a really long time, like I don't know if would want to live like, I don't know if we want people to live like that. Almost seems like torture, not comfort. It's very conflicting. Aaron had a wonderful question, and I thought we definitely should bring it up. And it goes to a little lighter side, so I thought this would be a good time. Is do you think you would become a leader like John did in the town, or do you think you would try to stay headed and off the grid and away from the town so as much as possible? I've thought about that myself, especially since he lives on the outskirts. I've wondered, especially since he was like a professor and stuff, I really thought that he was going to go there to the university. So I'm real curious. Oh, look at the baby. Since you asked the question, Aaron, let's start with you and hear your thoughts on it.
Um, See, I was a little bit conflicted. Like I would want to do what's best for my town, but I also feel like being a leader puts you in the spotlight and almost puts you on the chopping block. Like your family, if there was any sort of like riot, let's say when they cut rations, what if people get upset and they start to revolt? They're like, you know, that could happen. And the leaders of the town are going to be the first ones on the chopping block. So I don't know if I would want to put that attention on my family. But like you guys said, it is important to, form alliances. And if his alliances are the leaders of the town, that's probably, you'd think, be like the strongest people to be with because they are controlling everything. But also, like I said, I don't want to be the center of attention when things start going bad. I don't want to put my family in that kind of situation because everybody knows him. Like, just like he said, when he had to execute that man, or those men, people looked at him with disgust. I mean, like he said, some people looked at him like in awe and like with respect, but there were people who thought he was disgusting. And those people are going to remember him. So I don't know what I would do.
What about those people's families?
Right, exactly right.
My feeling is that on this question, for my answer, is he was a colonel. And so you don't necessarily get to that kind of position in the military unless you have that kind of leadership personality. So I think he was doomed to somehow be in control of something. But I didn't think it would go this far. I didn't know he'd be on like a committee. How about you, Emily? Do you have some thoughts on it? What would you think you would be in that?
So, well, I have two separate answers because if I was in his position, then in a small town like that, 100%, I would probably be a leader. It's my natural tendency. Where I am now, no. I live outside of the city limits in Lancaster. We have a fairly large population, a lot of which are drug addicts. Um, so my first step would be to get my children home to here, and then we would bug in. Um, and at that point, no, I would be kind of a recluse a little bit on the outsides, only really interacting when necessary or with my immediate neighbors. But if I was in his position in a small town like that where they need that leadership and they need that guidance, that is my natural tendency. So I probably would, especially if I was a colonel.
He's full of a plethora of information from a time before electronics were, dependent. I feel like he almost has an obligation to provide that information, at least as consult. Because I mean, now they have the phone working, and it was his suggestion to get an antique phone.
Right. Well, and they roped him into it.
Yeah.
Really. Like
Yeah.
he went in for answers or for whatever at the very beginning, and they were like, aha, historical brain, colonel, yeah, okay, you come and advise, and he's kind of getting roped into it. It's the same thing with the militia. Like he's getting basically told that no, you're doing this. We need you, it's your duty. So I think he feels guilty that is how he feels that it's his duty.
Mm-hmm. Melissa, how about you? Would you want to be in that position, or would you say, no, not for me?
No, I agree. I wouldn't want to be in a leadership position at all.
Yeah, I get that. Unfortunately, I have his personality type. Clearly, I mean, we had a book club before this, and we sprung out, and now look what I'm doing. I got roped into that book club for some organization for more people, and here we are. I would probably end up in his exact, and then I would be scared to death. Michael, how about you?
I would probably be more of a recluse, just kind of. I, that, and I think where we live right beside an Air Force base. So I think it would be hard to try to take on a leadership role because I think they would probably just take over everything. So I think it would be very hard and almost more detrimental for us and as a family and that kind of stuff than just kind of hunker down and stay kind of lie low and under the radar.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How about you, Udi? I feel like I know you, and I feel like you have my community heart. I think you would want to be with your alliances, your people. But I'm curious, in this type of situation where what he's doing, would you want to lead like he is?
Yeah, I do. I would. 100%. Yeah, you and me are definitely alike in that aspect. I would my personality would not let me stand by. I'd have to do something, especially like with my knowledge and my constant yearning for more knowledge. Yeah, I would 100% be hands-on. Like, let's see what I could do. I don't know if I could be like John and do how they got him to kill that guy. I don't know if I could do that aspect, but the political aspect and like trying to run things and be someone that you can turn to for advice, I think I can do that.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. I'm not sure about the murdering, the killing, the executioning either. I do think the executive function part of it, though, and providing information and stuff would be helpful. How about you? And I'd want my hand in it. I don't think I could handle being on the outside of it. I think it would cause
Yeah,
more
exactly.
anxiety.
I'd want to be in the know.
Yeah. How about you, Patty?
So I feel torn because, like some of you have said, like if you're a leader, and it goes awry, it could fall back on you. But John would have been dead if he wasn't a leader. I can say that with certainty because if he didn't have that relationship with Doc Keller, if he wasn't so important, he would have died from that infection in his hand. I would like to think because I don't have a lot of skills, but I can lead a team. I can do that. I'd like to think that I would probably try to be a part of leadership team as well. But it is for selfish advantage, so that if something happened to my family, that I could pull my leadership strings. And I mean that is a moral gray area for me, but I would try to use it to make sure that my family was as safe as possible and have access to medications. Like Doc Keller knew about the insulin, didn't say anything. He's saving Jennifer's life as well right now by just being in that position. Now, could I have killed somebody? Fuck no. And John just should have shut the fuck up. Had he not brought up this, the police are separated, they're not the executors. If he didn't say that, he never would have had to kill those people. Now, was he right? Yeah. But I think that they're picking straws of this is America, but ooh, wait, maybe this isn't. But this is. They are literally grasping and choosing what America they want to be and negating the rest of it. So I think that he just should have shut his fucking mouth, to be honest.
I 100% agree. I think he was trying to advise and give people like what they did before, but he kind of shot himself in the foot. You know what I mean? Like in a way. I will say, side note here, you were my manager and you're the best manager I ever had. So I would definitely give the keys to the kingdom to you. You were the most real, honest person that I ever worked with. So as a manager, it was a big deal. So Stephanie, how about you?
So I think I'd probably get roped into it too, to be honest. Um, I I want to try to stay low, but I also want to help people. So that's the hard part. And I want to help people. So I mean, I really don't think I could murder someone though.
I
I
think it'd
don't
be
think I
more
could
like
do it.
Michaela,
Yeah,
the nurse. I see you being in charge of something like that.
yeah.
Big time. Yeah. That's your personality style. I see you really trying to help as many people as possible, and you'd be in a leadership position in that. How about you, Tiff?
I think here's the thing to think about, right? And I'm not going to talk politics, but for every like good leader there is out there who wants to help people, I mean, there's a whole lot of not good leaders who don't want to help people, but they still want to be in charge. And I feel like I wouldn't want to end up if I didn't stand up and say something and try to be a leader, like I wouldn't want to end up having somebody else and it be that type of person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that there's a part of me that is like, I feel like I would try to do what I could to help people. And I would probably step into that role to help people, but also to make sure that like the wrong kind of leader doesn't
Yeah.
become in charge too.
That
Because
is
there,
an
I mean,
excellent point.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's two distinct types of people, right? Like I want to help everybody, and then there's the people that are like, F you got mine kind of
Yeah.
people too, you know?
Yeah, that is a very good point. I think that might be where my desire for it to be fair, for people to be heard, and for it to be safe, as much as possible. I think that's where it comes from. How about you, Victoria? Would you want to take a role? I know you are my trainer and you're an amazing trainer, and you did really, really well with that, managing people. And I know you kind of have moved on to something like that as well. Do you see yourself in a position of that?
At the end of the day, I don't always like being the adult. I'm not gonna lie. So I would, as much as I would like to say, yeah, I'd probably take a position of leadership and help, I also would probably be very traumatized and just say, you know what, if someone else is going to take it from here, that's really cool. I'm awesome in the face of a crisis. Like I am very much that person that can snap into like just emergency mode and like handle it. But it's at the like risk of like my relationships, not only to myself, but to other people. And like it's just not a place that I like to live in, after having to do it for like 11 years of my life. So, um, I would love to again live in a community where I could feel like, oh my gosh, I know Johnny down the street is gonna just lead us to victory. Um, but yeah, I'd probably step up where I have to because I have to. I wouldn't be doing it out of, wanting to.
Right,
Um,
right.
necessity, of course. So,
Yeah.
so yeah.
The motive is a little different. I think, for you. And I do understand when you've been in firefight for so long, having to take that on. I almost wonder, and I challenge you, since that feels normal to you because you did it for so long, if it would instinctually kick in when we're faced with new trauma, you know?
Oh, it does every time.
Yeah.
My husband's like, okay, so why are you doing this like police dispatcher thing? Like, like basically just like emotions shut off and it's very much like all business and it's been that way since I was a kid. But yeah, it's very much like sometimes I just want to sit and like be in it and like, cry and scream with him or like panic with him, but I'm just like, nope, we're moving on to solutions mode now. Solutions mode engage. It feels very robotic.
It does. It does. It comes.
Yeah.
It's natural instinct because we were conditioned in that way for so long. I get that completely. Hello, me. I'm the problem. I understand completely. I did want to hear your guys' opinion on, and I think we'll do it as a consensus, thumbs up or thumbs down. Do we think Jennifer is going to survive this book? So if you think she is, we're going to thumbs up, and if we think she's not, we're going to thumbs down. Okay. Wow. I love the optimism. I really do. I really do. I'm getting scared. Yeah, that was the biggest thing for me. I'm trying to mentally prepare myself for it because for whatever reason, I'm really attached to her. Probably because she's the weakest link. And that tends to be like my mama bear in me. We have another question from Stephanie that I think we'll finish on. It says, I'm thinking about the fact that they are letting people cross through and making them stay within a certain area. If people cross over into territory, they are told they cannot cross. Should they be shot for order? So the ones that go rogue, do you feel like they should be? I don't know about this whole shoot to kill thing, but I don't know. But yeah, that's Stephanie's question. And we'll start with Victoria this time.
I think for me, it would not necessarily be a shoot to kill situation because, like, I'm thinking about like the situations where I'm just like, ooh, like keep the, oncoming hordes at bay. It's like, some sort of zombie apocalypse or like an outbreak of a disease that I don't want to contract or something like that. This isn't necessarily like a time of disease where my health would be in more jeopardy than normal. So I feel like I would try to use my words first as much as I can. Um, truly, but again, trauma brain might, crack a few warning shots in the air while I'm trying to use my words, but definitely wouldn't be like, oh, someone's crossing onto my property, let me just annihilate them because they made a mistake and may not know where the property bounds even are. Stuff like that. Yeah, that wouldn't be me.
So from what I understand, the reason why they're shooting them is they're afraid that they are from this cult or the posse. B, they're afraid they have some kind of horrible disease that can spread to people in the town and take it over. So for them, I feel like they feel like the person going off, it's life or death. Like that person could be the reason why we would not survive. And if you do shoot them, and I thought about this when Stephanie answered the question, I want to challenge you all. If you didn't kill them, now you have a lame person that you have to care for and feed.
Yeah, but then I can get all the cultist info. Like that's where I'm getting all my insider info about their.
Yeah.
I've got a whole plan of this. Yeah, maybe I'm kneecapping them. We're running a misery, you know what I mean? Getting on like the trust and like tell me all about this cult. That's how I would probably run.
Yeah, that's an insight. Yeah, diabolical again. Tiff, how about you?
I feel like I would probably, I don't know. That's a really hard question to answer. Because there's so many questions, and if you're just not sure, then you risk somebody coming in that's not a good person. And like I'm the person that wants to like believe in the good in everybody and wants to think that, everybody has good motives. So that's where I really struggle, which is probably why I feel like I wouldn't survive something like this more than like 5 days anyways. But I think I would have no choice but to just, sorry, like this is what it is. Like, you always talk about watching like zombie movies and like the zombie apocalypse and stuff. And like, somebody gets bit and like the team like still keeps them around. I'm like, just get rid of them. Like they're going to turn into a zombie. Like take them out. But they like always keep them around for like obviously the movie is for dramatic effect, but you know. But
Right.
I don't know. I feel like if I had to, I would, but like not being in that situation, I'm just like, oh, I want to see the good in everybody. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I really hope I wouldn't be in the position to be on that line to make that decision because it's not a good one for me. It's not. I don't know if I could. I wouldn't act fast enough. And Emily had put in like when you shoot, you have to, you're going to waste ammo. Like there's so many implications. I really don't think I would belong on that line. I really, but they don't. I would hope they'd move me somewhere else. Stephanie, how about you? Since it was your question, you obviously thought, ooh, could I do this?
So when I was reading about Carol, it hit my heart honestly that she just wanted, I mean, she was willing to give up her body just to survive basically and get through and I don't know. I don't know why that one got to me, but I understand that they're scared about, having a foreign agent, meaning, bacteria, virus, something, but I don't think I could do it. I would hate to be making those decisions because I don't think I could do it because like Emily said, you have to shoot to kill and that's not. I mean, I would try to figure out something else. I don't know what it would be. I would try to be diplomatic, I think. I don't know, but my heart just goes out to Carol. I feel so bad for her.
Oh, I cried. I cried. I think she was teasing them. I think she was in her head debating, okay, I know I'm going to die if they don't take me in, so go ahead and shoot me. I really feel like that was where she was at. And I kind of felt like angry in a way at them, like they know she's going to go off and die. It just hurts. How about you, Patty?
So I don't know because I thought about Carol a lot too. I think about her because yeah, they do talk about how she's not going to make it. And I mean, there's like the moral just, let her have one good last meal. But that's one good last meal. He even thought about giving her the chocolate. But that's his daughter's emergency stash and that could save, change could keep her alive. But like when I think about like shooting to kill versus shooting at all, it's not just the lameness. Essentially, anyone who gets shot right now is going to die from infection. There's not a way to keep it clean. So, are you mercy shooting them in the leg just to say, okay, like this is your warning? You're killing them probably worse than you would be if you shot them in the head. And I think that a lot of people do things like they say like the path to hell is paved with good intent. I feel like that's an exact example of that. You would be mutilating this person and they die in agony and slow painful death because they have this ravenous affection that they can no longer take. So if I were on there, I probably would, assuming that I could aim it and hit someone like that. But it just, I feel like that's the most merciful thing to do if I were to have to do that.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point. I also think if you felt like your babies were behind you and you're protecting them, so it would just come instinctual. Yeah. How about you, Udi?
I like that. If it comes to my babies, if it comes to my rats, no. Um, I don't know. I wouldn't be able to. I don't think I'd be able to kill anybody, but if my dad were around, he would definitely be able to protect us for that. So I think he would be roped in as executioner just because, unfortunately, he'd be able to handle that more than the women in the party that would be, you know, in my group.
Yeah. My grandpa
Just
was a
because,
sergeant in the Marine Corps, so I think about him often while I'm reading this, and he would be on the front line,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Like my dad is one of those ones that wouldn't hesitate for his family.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, these are 25-year-old children, 21, 22-year-old, not fully developed in college, learning to shoot type of thing. It's just terrible that they have to be faced with decisions like that. How about you, Michael?
I'm would have to agree with most everybody else. I don't think I could personally do it. I think I could probably talk and try to kind of see if there was a way that we could come up with a way or something like that. But I think just to shoot someone because they're crossing without knowing more about them, unless like a mama bear type thing, like you said, I think would be something I could not do.
Yeah, I fully agree. I wish there were a way of capture to, I don't know, realign or move along, yeah, it's ugly. It's hard. And Stephanie, I saw your comment. This has been the hardest book for me. I thought the last book was the hardest book. This one has made me so scared. I just don't know. I get like palpitations, like, holy crap, I would die like within the first day. How about you, Melissa?
No, I agree with everyone else. I don't think I would want to be on the front lines. And, also, do you shoot someone who's just trying to survive because you're doing everything that you can to survive? Same with Carol, she was willing to give up her body just to survive one more day. And that's ultimately what everyone is trying to do, is just survive.
I feel like in a way we do that now. I think we're all still in survival mode since 2020. And I think we have multiple fires that we're trying to put out. I really do. I think a lot of people, a majority of people. Emily, I think this might be your wheelhouse. This might be the spot for you and the alignment of things, because you have such a clear vision of this sort of thing. It's almost like I feel like you can remove you're more logical, and you can remove the emotional part, and you know how to handle yourself in that type of situation. That's what I gather anyway.
I'm a Cancer. So if that tells you anything, I'm a highly emotional and in tune person, and I feel things very, very deeply and very, very big. However, I also have endured a lot of abuse, and I am autistic. So I am completely able to compartmentalize. That's why I was saying earlier that the ability to completely compartmentalize your emotions is both a blessing and a curse, because sometimes, especially in an emergency situation, I go into action mode. I do not think about the way things make me feel. And I have to sometimes kind of step back and be like, okay, like, there's emotions involved in this as well. But yeah, I would 100% be able to put you down.
Yeah.
100% without even blinking, because, and maybe it's my training from a weapons standpoint, and the fact that I do have my CCW and I come from a military and first responder family. You don't pull your weapon unless you are planned to fire it, like unless you are 100% ready to fire if need be, and you do not plan to fire it if need be unless you're going to take them down and they're not going to get back up. Because in those situations, my reasoning in pulling it is not to threaten you. My reasoning is to show the threat that I will not hesitate. I can defend myself and my people and my city or my whatever it is I'm defending.
Mm-hmm.
I agree actually with them having that law there, basically that rule, that if they, as long as they are passing all the way through and they are continuing to move, then nobody gets hurt. But if you try to deviate from that, then you're putting us at risk, and we have to assume that you are a threat, because rather than trying to have a conversation and convince that I have a skill, I'm running through your barriers, right? So you're assuming that you don't have a skill. You're not going to be any help to the community. If you have a skill, you're going to say, but I'm a doctor. I'm a doctor, right? You're gonna try and say what you can offer to benefit the community and why you should get to stay, why you should be an exception. If you're not, you're going to take off for the hills.
Yeah.
Because the only thing you're trying to do is take care of yours and survive. And I am compassionate to that to a point. I'm not going to put my community at risk just because you're trying to protect yours. So that's fine. You can protect yours, and I'm going to let you protect yours, but you're going to protect yours over there. I'm not putting mine at risk for your safety. And that's where that thought process of, while I care about the individual, I care about the greater at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of more that anti-hero kind of mindset, kind of that morally gray villain,
I
in
think
the
it's
sense that,
important.
yeah, in the sense that I will. I'm not going to maim you. I'm not going to fire a warning shot. I'm going to warn you verbally that you need to back up and retreat. But if you come at me, you're a threat. And I think we need both sets of people. We need people in a society who are, I could 100% not be that executioner, because you need that moral compass. You need those people who are like, wait, we need to stop. We need to think about this. But when it comes down to it, especially in a martial law setting, you need people who are going to make the hard decisions. You need people who are going to say, this person caused the death, and that's why they ended up ultimately deciding to kill the two men who stole life-saving medications from the medical
Alzheimer.
facility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, from the Alzheimer patients and from the cancer patients. Like, they stole it, and they directly caused the death of all of those people.
Yeah.
And so that was what their punishment was. So, I mean, I agree with it. And that would be me.
This is definitely your wheelhouse. That's where I would place you, definitely. Aaron, I adore you and I love you very much. I have a feeling that this would not be a good place for you.
No, not at all. I wouldn't be able to. And I mean, I think that they're doing the right thing. I absolutely do. I don't think they have another choice. I feel like all it takes is one weak link. So if you let one person in, everybody else who's walking down is going to see that weak spot in your armor, and they're all going to come through. And then now nobody's going to survive. But I would not be able to do it. No, I would hope that someone would be willing to stand up and be brave and do it for me. But I definitely would not be able to do it. As soon as I saw those, sick kids, pale kids in the cart sleeping, I'd be like, come on, come over here, come in. As soon as that woman told me her story about being assaulted and all she got was a watery bowl of soup, I would have been like, you're safe with me now. Come on. And I know that they don't have the food. They don't have any kind of resources for those people. They can't keep them safe. They have to send them on their way, but it's so heartbreaking. I can only imagine being that young girl. Wasn't it a girl who was the sniper, the one that missed? Or it did almost make me cry sitting there thinking of her, like seeing all of these people suffering, walking by and having to like be the one to take that shot. That's so heartbreaking.
Oh, devastating. I would need to be as far removed from that line, but that's the beauty of all these different personalities. And like hearing everybody's feedback on the book makes you see like, almost see like roles of a community of just these people coming together of where I would put them. And if we could just focus on our strengths and put people where they, could benefit the most, people could survive. But it's just so hard when you're literally starving and you're in complete chaos, but so, oh, and that works. You both water signs, Emily. So we are going to finish the book next week. So just read to the end, and then we'll have our MVP, our rookie. We'll go through all of our awards. I've sent out everything from the last read, just so you guys know mail is coming. And then if is there any other questions or information we want to do on this section? No, okay. And then everybody's cool with finishing the book next week? Yay. Okay. I really think we were going to give until tomorrow to do some, or next week to do some voting, but I'm pretty sure Tiff's suggestion has won the next book, which I think, Tiff, can you give me the name again? It's something about September. Is it? No, am I wrong? A house?
Yeah, it's the September house.
Yeah. Yeah,
I tried to go scary since it was going to be October. So
yeah, cool. I think that's where we're going to be headed. So that's it then. I will see you guys all next week. If you're reading another book, maybe try to balance it out with something happy. This is intense stuff. My DMs are always open if you need to talk or you want to vent some more or want to discuss anything. Okay. Oh, my love and light to you guys. It was so nice to see everyone. I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.